Death is a fucking scam. I'll share 13 ways all funerals are a complete ripoff. Dead people don't really give a shit what you do with their rotting corpses. Why should you? So, my buddy's mother-in-law swung by the other day, announcing she was in town for a very special D occasion. My first thought? Divorce, deportation, or maybe a good old-fashioned deposition. This may seem harsh, but if you knew her personally, you'd totally agree. This bitch deserved any of those three. But nope, it was the other D word. The D all of us must face at one point or another: death. Turns out this woman's first husband kicked the bucket a decade ago, and his worm-eaten corpse is currently enriching the soil at some jacked-up private veterans cemetery. Through the geriatric grapevine, she learned she could pre-purchase her own little patch of dirt right next to her decomposed hubby for a measly $7,900. And because being dead is apparently a pageant to some of these boomers, she dropped another $8,500 on a pretty headstone. She bragged about writing the check, claiming she was saving the kids the trouble. Not only did this selfish twat just piss away $15,000 plus of my buddy's inheritance, but she also sent a crystal clear message.
I don't trust you incompetent fucks to handle my corpse.
There remains, you doddering idiot. Google the word. Skin, nails, hair, fluids, organs. You know, the shit they typically wrap in skin and sell as sausage. You can't breathe. You can't think. You can't judge. You won't have the faintest fucking clue what they do with your wrinkled-ass sack of bones because you'll be fucking dead. Deceased. Over. Gone. Returned to the dirt and shit from whence you came. Your spirit box will have been returned to the great, deed-restricted, lily-white suburban paradise in the sky. Why was it so goddamn important to secure a trash dump next to some dude's garbage who'll never know she's there? Apparently, this pre-need burial bullshit is a status symbol among folks whose elevators don't go to the top floor. They brag about it at their church luncheons. I'm not sure how this idiotic tradition started, but I'm willing to bet fear-mongering talk radio had something to do with it. My own mother died suddenly with 0 post-death instructions, so I had her ass burned. When they asked what I wanted to do with the ashes, I was like, I don't know, they're fucking ashes. Can't you toss them for me? I mean, how do I know they're really her ashes anyway? Could have been the pervy old man they incinerated before hers. You can't really DNA test ashes. Then they tried to sell me a $500 urn until he realized I was seriously not buying into this bullshit. They insisted I had to take the box of ashes and pay for the privilege. I feigned an embarrassing breakdown in his lobby and laughed when I hit the parking lot. I tossed that shitty box in the garbage bin that same day. Mom is scattered in a Philadelphia garbage dump somewhere. Rest in pieces. It got me thinking about the whole death industry. I worked with a guy named Leon, who moonlighted at a funeral parlor. He'd tell us at lunch how his boss bought a brand new Cadillac, cash, every single year. His favorite party story was describing the embalming process in gruesome detail, how they drain your fluids so you don't stink up the chapel. He said by the time you're in the ground, you're just a chemical-filled skin bag. They shove cotton up your nose, stick plastic cups under your eyelids to keep them from caving in, and tuck gauze down your throat and up your ass to soak up whatever nastiness tried to leak out. And don't even ask me what they did with some of the Social Security numbers of their clients. Let's just say Eleanor may have lived a few years past her death, according to department store charges. Things were much easier to get away with in the late 1980s. Funeral homes charge upwards of $5,000 for this 5-star desecration. It was much less pre-2020, but the pandemic price bumps stayed in just about every industry. My buddy's mother-in-law, like so many of her kind, still is a narcissistic piece of shit. This isn't about saving the kids the trouble. It's a power play from beyond the grave. It's about ensuring that when she dies, you're fixing to suffer and you're going to remember. Her little stunt guarantees mandatory depression at least 5 times a year. Every birthday, Mother's Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and whatever other bullshit holiday rolls around, My buddy's family will be obligated to drive to a sad-ass field, stand over a buried pile of chemically treated flesh, and pretend Sally gives a fuck that they're there. This brings me to the grand-scale narcissism of suicide culture. There's this bullshit Netflix series, 13 Reasons Why, a show tailor-made for needlessly depressed upper-middle-class suburban teens. The first season plot revolved around some dude named Clay and his dead friend Hannah, who offs herself over some stupid high school gossip. Hannah leaves behind a set of cassette tapes, fucking cassette tapes, detailing 13 monumentally stupid reasons for her decision. The real crimes are the girl's pathetic cry for attention and Netflix glorifying it for millions of impressionable dumbasses. These kids think the only way people will finally appreciate them is by laying a massive suicide guilt trip on everyone who ever looked at them funny. They fail to grasp the simple fact that they won't be around to enjoy the day or two of attention they get before everyone forgets them forever. Everyone except the poor bastards who actually love them, who are now stuck with a lifetime of grief and obligatory cemetery visits. Spoiler, suicide is a very ineffective means of retribution. A better way is to anonymously torture the bullies for the rest of their lives. Anywho, when I die, I told my wife to put my corpse in a fucking garbage bag and leave me by the curb for collection. However, like everything else that makes sense, the funeral lobby has politicians in their pocket, so that's apparently illegal. So, I compromised. Donate my corpse to medical science. Let some med students have a go. Honestly, I wouldn't mind if some 19-year-old sawed my tiny pecker off for a lab experiment. What the hell am I going to do with it? The best part? They cremate what's left and handle the disposal. No fuss, no muss, and most importantly, no cash outlay. And that means more inheritance you don't have to piss away. I bit my tongue for my buddy's sake, but you know I really wanted to unleash a barrage of questions on his wacky mom that would have left her and my buddy feeling like the incompetent morons she clearly thinks they are. So as advertised, here are my 13 reasons why death is the ultimate scam. You have to buy land just so you can rot in it, because real estate isn't expensive enough for the living. You have to buy an expensive-ass box to put in that land, which will also rot. Transportation costs. You have to pay a guy in a suit to drive your corpse a few miles. I asked if I could just use the trunk. That was a firm no. The pricey headstone, a permanent participation trophy for the most recently deceased award. Obligatory flowers. You'll be forced to buy dead plants to put on a dead person's grave at least 4 times a year. It's another reason to think your own life sucks. Nothing like a Sunday stroll through a boneyard to contemplate your own mortality and crushing debt. The clergy tax. The priest-rabbi-minister expects a crisp Benjamin or two in a plain envelope for babbling for 15 minutes about a person they probably never met. You won't know anyone visited your stupid fucking gravesite because, say it with me now, you are dead. The ass gasket fee. Funeral directors charge thousands to suck out your guts and shove gauze up your ass. The burn bill. Even if you get cremated, they charge you to push the on button on an oven. The ash canister. Then they force you to buy a vase for the ashes. For all you know, it's the remains of the stray cat that used to piss on their porch. There's no fucking way to verify. The grief gratuity. When you take 50 miserable people to lunch after the service, the restaurant will ram a mandatory 30% gratuity up your ass for the pleasure of serving your sad party. The inheritance heist. Every single dollar spent on this performative bullshit is stolen directly from someone's inheritance. Which brings me to my final point. Why the fuck do people leave all their money to children who clearly hate their guts? Take Fred. Fred was a bastard. He wanted his daughter to marry some rich, white golfing buddy of his. She fell in love with a Mexican immigrant instead. Fred lost his goddamn mind and didn't hide that fact from Ramon. He eventually apologized, but you can't ever take shit like that back. She hated him, justifiably, for the rest of his life. In his final years, riddled with guilt, Fred tried to apologize again. Too little, too late. She ignored him completely. Well, she ignored him, but not his money. He'd send cash and credit cards, funding her 30-year career of eating bonbons and not working. Then, to get right with God, he left her a massive inheritance, convinced this grand gesture would buy his ticket to heaven. I'm pretty sure that's not how it works, you fucking bozo. The crime is done. You can't buy your way out of this one. You probably would have done better with God by giving that cash to a children's charity. See you in hell, Gramps.